As the U.S. mourns the loss of conservative legend Charlie Kirk, President Trump is looking back on the lasting legacy that Kirk left with young voters.
Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense.
Our next guest once spoke at a Turning Point event and said Charlie was his mentor, writing in an op-ed, "I cannot bring back his voice, but I can honor him by carrying forward his lessons, fighting for education, and refusing to give up on the mission he built." High school senior Gregory Lykoff joins us now. Gregory, I wish we were speaking under different circumstances. What made Charlie so special?
Yeah, well, if you look at it, he's the only one who truly cared about students my age and really valued us whether we can vote or not. He went to those college campuses, he went to those high schools, established Turning Point USA clubs, and he actually got students to finally become engaged. You know, a generation that was once known as the liberal progressive generation turned into the generation that is now a conservative, or hopefully will become a conservative stronghold. And it was all because of Charlie Kirk and his influence on millions of students, including me.
When this horrific tragedy occurred, you wrote me yesterday saying you wanted to come on here and talk about what Charlie Kirk meant to you. So describe for the audience the influence he has had on your life.
Yeah, so let me just tell you a quick story, just a personal story of mine. So for 16 years, I had undiagnosed ADHD, and what that meant for me was that as I was a failing student, I couldn't read, I couldn't write, and only last year did I finally get diagnosed, and my entire life changed. I found my interest with politics, and that's when I started listening to people like Charlie Kirk. His show in particular showed me that debate matters, that things that, you know, we don't see in our regular political world actually matter. And that's what he shows. Whether you disagree with Charlie Kirk, whether you agree with Charlie Kirk, he would debate you. And even if he wins, whether he doesn't win the debate, that's not the point. The point is to have a civilized conversation, and that's what we're missing here. And that's what he taught me is the most important aspect of everything. And, you know, there's no other conservative who cares that much about children, about students, as much as he did. Because to be honest, for many, many decades, students were considered progressives, as I said before. So they were kind of a voting class that was not really needing to be represented because there would be no students that would be voting for red candidates. Charlie changed that, and with that impact, it's going to last decades.
Let's take a minute to listen to Charlie in his own words over the course of his very influential political career, encouraging young people just like you. Listen to this here.
Our generation and our belief system will be paving the way for millennials for decades to come.
As soon as you make the decision that I am going to boldly speak my mind courageously, whether I'm with friends or family or as I am in private and public, that is the most freeing thing we can give our students. I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
As a young man pursuing a marriage, I just want to ask if you had any advice on how I can pursue and maintain a God-centered marriage.
God must always come first from your spiritual disciplines. Honor the Sabbaths and turn off your phone for 1 day a week.
There is a not-so-silent majority now on college campuses of students that identify with a more conservative libertarian viewpoint. We are packing up these lecture halls. Our chapters are growing at a record rate.
How I got my political start, one of my first things of activism is when they doubled the price of cookies at Wheeling High School. I said, this is unconscionable, this is unwarranted, and we need a rebellion.
Conservatives are dominating in new media. We're dominating in podcasting. We're dominating on TikTok. We're dominating on social media, because we are a movement that believes in freedom of speech and that is able to have different ideas but build coalitional type politics.
Another great warrior right here, right, Ivanka? You are a great warrior. Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
He had so much life, so much drive, so much strength in his convictions, and so much, Gregory, left to give. What stood out to you?
You know, out of everything, he was always the most humble person. He never took anything for himself, and I think that's what really taught me who I want to be and how I want to represent myself in front of other people. I want to be as humble, as caring for other people as Charlie Kirk was, because, for example, he didn't have to offer me a spot to speak at a Turning Point USA event. He didn't have to even listen to me take a photo after speaking 15 hours straight on the stage, but he still did. And it's because he truly cares about students like me. He truly cares about our generation, and there's no one else that compares to the amount of care that he has. So really, that's what shocks me, is that we can have such a polarized world right now where someone so caring, even if they disagree with their beliefs, is now dead for no good reason.
10 seconds. How will you carry on his legacy?
I will carry on his legacy by making sure that his education reform is carried on. I think that's very important. I think reform in our K through 12 and upper education is extremely important. And
Gregory Lyakoff, thanks for reaching out to me. Thanks for coming in here today.
Thank you so much.
And sharing your important thoughts on this sad, sad morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
American flags seen at half-staff at the White House after President Trump ordered them to be lowered in honor of Charlie Kirk. Governors from across the country are paying tribute to him as well.
Charlie believed in the power of free speech and debate to shape ideas and to persuade people. Our hearts are broken. We mourn with his wife, his children, his family, his friends. We mourn as a nation.
Terry, how will you remember Charlie Kirk this morning?
Well, thanks so much, Todd. Charlie was a great man. I remember we met him. I met him at the Claremont Fellowship, the Lincoln Fellowship at the Claremont Institute, and I went in skeptical. There was a bunch of hype about this kid, and this was 4 years ago, and I went in skeptical, and by the end of it, I approached him and I told him, I said I wanted to be the first volunteer on your presidential campaign. And he's very humble. He shrugged it off, but he was a friend. He helped people. He didn't ask for anything in return. That picture you showed at the beginning, that's him meeting my daughter, Reagan, who listened to him. I mean, you look at my daughter's YouTube feed, it was all Charlie Kirk videos. But he was larger than life. He was a good man. He didn't ask for anything. He just wanted to save our country. He wanted to change hearts and minds.
Yeah. Here's a touching tribute from our own Greg Gutfeld on Charlie Kirk and his lasting impact.
Charlie was such a force of nature. He was brilliant and he was funny, but what scared people was his persuasiveness. The only way to take him down, because he could persuade you so strongly, was to kill him. This is a turning point. You know, if you believe in Charlie, you got to believe in yourself, because he believed in you. You know, this isn't over. This is the beginning. And Charlie's power just got released in all of us. He's going to be bigger now than he ever was on this chaotic planet. He made us all bigger. So I think that if you're at home and you're feeling bad, don't just get through it. And remember that he would want you to get stronger and not back down.
Terry, will Charlie's killing inspire a new generation of conservatives to take up that mantle and continue Charlie Kirk's mission that he has been on for the better part of a decade?
Yeah, Todd, I think that's exactly right. Charlie Kirk's legacy does not die. It continues. My daughter, we had a very serious conversation as a family yesterday with all my kids, and my kids are going to live on. They're going to carry that torch. They aren't backing down. You know, Todd, I was thinking about this. I'm a political history guy. I work in politics. Charlie and I were kind of peers. He was much bigger than I am. I'm not trying to cloud that, but I've been trying to think about, you know, in terms of American history, what type of similar political assassination was this? And with the stature and the crowds and the impact that this guy had on America, the closest thing I can come up with is Martin Luther King Jr., right? He had that much of an impact. And I think that there's going to be a whole new generation of American kids who see this and see what happens, see the price that he pays. And I think that they're going to be so inspired and motivated that they're going to be so fired up about America that they're willing to pay that price too.
Lara Trump said she doesn't know if Donald Trump would be president without Charlie Kirk. Do you agree with that?
100%. I think that Donald Trump is in the White House right now largely because of what Charlie Kirk did by motivating the youth. You look at the polls. We increased huge grounds amongst young voters. Young men specifically are swinging towards the right. They're swinging towards Republicans. There's no question. Charlie Kirk had an impact on this last election, but I think his legacy is much bigger than just one election. I think it's going to save the rest of the country.
So, Terry, I ask you, will this moment inspire us to come together as a nation to say this political violence has gone too far, especially over the last 5, 6, 7 years? Or does this moment divide us somehow further than we are right now?
Well, I'm optimistic. I'm very much optimistic about the future of this country. Today's 9/11, right? And I don't think that these dates are meaningless. Charlie Kirk was assassinated the day before 9/11, which was a very consequential day for America. And I think that we have the opportunity right now to tone down the rhetoric, back off of all this garbage. I just hope that the politicians, the leaders, right? The leaders have outspoken weight here. It's immeasurable. We have to get the rhetoric under control. We have to stop calling each other these terrible names and inspiring this type of stuff. But I'm very optimistic, Todd, and I have to be optimistic with all the kids I have. They need a bright future in America, and we need to tone this stuff down before it gets too bad.
Vice President J.D. Vance writing on X, quote, Charlie Kirk was a true friend, the kind of guy you could say something to and know it would always stay with him. And now that Charlie Kirk is in heaven, I'll ask him to talk to the big man directly on behalf of his family, his friends, and the country he loves so dearly. You ran a good race, my friend. We've got it from here. And you mentioned that potentially you saw Charlie Kirk as a presidential candidate someday, and those words coming from somebody who most people view as the next presidential candidate on the Republican side, J.D. Vance. So my final question to you, is this somebody that you ultimately did think would be a president of the United States someday in Charlie Kirk?
1,000,000%. Charlie was going to be the president of the United States someday. He wasn't old enough. He was only 31. I was going to volunteer in his campaign in 4 years from now. But he was good. Thank you, God, for Charlie Kirk. He helped our country. He helped save in this last election. But thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for Charlie Kirk.
Beautifully said. We'll leave it there. Terry Schilling, thank you, sir.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.